Hi, hello, namaste. My name is Marisa, and today we're going to talk about common SOP or statement of purpose mistakes. Now, you probably know what to do, so let's talk about what not to do. So let's get into it. The first mistake is trying to include everything that's already in your CV or your resume in your statement of purpose. There's a common misconception that your SOP is supposed to essentially be a long version or a prose version of your resume. This is not true. You do not want to have every single thing you've included in your resume also in your SOP. Think about it this way. If the admissions committee is looking at your resume and then they look at your SOP and they are essentially identical in terms of content, they've gained no new information. In that case, why would they have made you write an SOP? Your SOP is actually your chance to give details, to elaborate, to go into depth about your experiences and your stories and what makes you a good candidate for their program. So what you should do, instead of trying to include everything, pick your top 2, 3, 4, depends on how long your statement is, of course. Pick your top couple of examples or experiences and go in depth about those. So if you have relevant work experience or you've worked on a research project that is exactly aligning with what you want to continue researching in your master's program, perhaps, whatever it may be, pick your most relevant or interesting or unique experiences and talk about them. Go in depth about them, talk about what they did for you, how they helped prepare you for this program, what you gained out of them, what you gave back to society or your university or the world at large, whatever it may be. The point is, you should go in depth about a couple of examples rather than going shallow about everything. One common thing I see is where people have listed out every single course they've ever taken, or they've put specifics of grades, test scores, and GPA essentially. That does not belong in your SOP. That's not where that type of thing belongs. That goes in your resume, and anyway, most applications have blanks for you to actually fill that information out. That's where they want them. So your SOP is really a chance for you to tell your story and to basically put a story behind the resume. It's for you to come alive and come off the page and present yourself as this unique dimensional character rather than just a set of accomplishments that appears on your resume. Mistake number 2, writing an SOP that is too long. What do I mean by too long? Realistically, most universities actually have requirements. They'll have a set of criteria that says you can't have more than 2 pages or more than 1,000 words, or sometimes even less, 300 to 500 words. The reason is universities get tons of applications. They do not want to read a 4 to 5 page paper for every applicant. That's just far too much. They don't have the time. They don't have the manpower. It's just not going to happen. So if you do end up writing a 4 to 5 page paper for your statement and you turn it in, you run the risk of them not reading it fully, skimming it maybe, or, it just being kind of thrown out if it doesn't meet their criteria. So obviously, first and foremost, if your university you're applying to has criteria, follow that. If they don't set out any specific criteria, there's always a couple of guidelines that I recommend. When you're talking about page count, 1 to 2 pages max. I would never suggest going above 2 pages. And when I say 2 pages, I mean single-spaced, I mean 12-point font, Times New Roman, and the margin should be 1 inch all around. This is a set of standards that's very common in US universities. So if you're not really sure where to go, or like I said, there's no criteria or specifics on your university, the one you're applying to on their website, go with this as a set of rules. If you still want more detail, I would say as far as word count, 500 to 1,000 maximum. You really, really, really should be able to put your experiences into that many words or less. They're looking to see that you're a good candidate. They're looking to see that you have some kind of relevant experience, or you have some way otherwise prepared yourself, if not relevant experience. But they're also looking for you to be concise and to be able to tell your story and pitch yourself, right? Think of it like a job interview of sorts. You only have so much time, or in this case, space, and you have to get your story across. You have to put yourself out there for that length of time or that amount of space, and that's it. So write your first draft. Don't worry about word count when you're first writing. Just write the things that you think belong in your SOP, and then go back and revise, edit it. Make sure you really get it down to just the important things that if someone only has 5 minutes to read your essay, your statement, that they get the main points of you, the most important aspects to you and your experience, your past, your history, your story. I keep saying story when I'm talking about your statement of purpose, because It's your time to tell your story. No other time do you actually get to write about yourself in this way. When you're talking about applications, most of what they're looking for are numbers or specifics. They're looking for the factual details. So this is your chance to really get across who you are. So you really don't want to waste this opportunity. Mistake number 3, trying to make your SOP sound a little too flashy. What do I mean by flashy? Really, what I'm talking about is when someone's written their statement of purpose, and then after that, they go back and they use a thesaurus to essentially find words and replace them with bigger, flashier, or better sounding words. Don't worry about your statement not sounding flashy enough or fancy enough or maybe smart enough or using big enough words. Instead, just write what comes naturally to you. I think the best way to go about it is to draft your statement. Don't worry about word choice. Don't worry about length. Don't worry about any of the particulars, the details really. Just focus on the content, focus on getting the important things down, and then go back afterwards, revise it, edit it. At that point, you absolutely should think about your word choice. You will need to change words, and that's okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't. What I am saying is don't go overboard. Don't change a word in every sentence just because you think it might sound a little bit flashier or better. Those of us who have a lot of experience reading papers and essays, statements in an academic context in particular, it's very easy to tell. It's very easy to tell when someone has done this. Basically, what happens is you have this statement, it's got a nice flow, and then every once in a while you run into a word that just doesn't sound natural in the context that it's used in. So this is very easy to pick out, and really it's just, there's no point in doing it. Write what you know, write as you are. And if you really do want to make sure that your word choice is on point and that everything sounds really nice, really eloquent, have a friend, have a past colleague or a professor or even a professional go back and revise and edit your statement either with you or for you. But that way you can really focus on the content and getting down your story and what makes your statement and you unique, and not worry so much on the more technical details like the particulars of writing. I think that sometimes people get hung up on word choice, especially if English is not their first language or their comfort language, and that's completely okay. But you can also do yourself a big disservice if you go overboard on it, if you do it too much and you try to make up for your own perceived shortcomings. I don't think that they are shortcomings, but sometimes we're our own worst critics. So you may feel like this is a shortcoming, something that you need to change or fix. Probably that's not the case. So don't worry too much about that. Focus instead on what you're saying, not the word choice that you're using to say it. Last but not least, the final mistake. Taking someone else's statement of purpose, a sample or something that someone else, a friend, has written, and trying to change the details and make it your own. This is a bad idea for a number of reasons. First of all, you might be thinking, well, who's going to know? Who cares? What does it matter? Well, you might be right. They may never know, but they also may know. So depending on where you got this sample from, if you got it online, for example, where a lot of other people may have gotten this same sample and are doing a similar process to you, chances are high that admissions committee will get a flood of very similar types of statements of purpose. You don't want that. Even if they never know, what's the danger of using someone else's to kind of draft your own off of? Well, someone else isn't you. You aren't them. Their experiences, the way they write, the way they think, the way they would have told their story is going to be and should be different from the way you will tell your story. You are unique. Your history, your experiences, all of that is unique and specific to you. So if you take someone else's already existing SOP and you just try to change it and fit yourself to their mold, what you're doing is taking essentially you, this very unique person, and trying to fit it in a pre-existing mold that someone else has already created, essentially. That's doing a big disservice to yourself. You run the risk of forgetting very unique experiences that you want to include. You also just lose some of your creativity. If you take something, again, that already exists, someone else already drafted, the way that your mind is going to come up with new things is automatically going to be limited because you have something in front of you. So you're already going to be thinking in terms of that structure, in terms of what's already written, instead of starting from scratch and essentially creating and drafting your own picture. again, your own story, which is really what you want to do. So you really want to avoid taking something else that someone has and making it your own. Instead, draft your SOP from scratch. Even if you're not sure or this is intimidating, you've never done it before, you don't feel confident, don't worry about it. The point is to get started, to get things written down, and then, like I've said a couple times, go back and edit it, go back and revise it. Have that friend look at it, have a colleague, have a professional look at it. The point is, get your draft down on your own. Get started on your own. And if you need help getting started with this, I'll actually leave a helpful link in the description down below that helps you get started. If you completely have no idea how to get started, where to get started, what to do, what to think, how to even literally start the first line, I'm going to leave a link that will help you. So check that out if you need to. So there are plenty more mistakes to be cautious of. Of course, these are only the top couple that I've seen regularly. And it goes without saying, please do spell check, make sure you're checking for grammar, all of the basic things, assume that those are already there. These are just some of the other more common mistakes. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do like or subscribe, and I will actually leave some helpful links for writing your statement of purpose down in the description below. So कृपया like or subscribe करो, दोस्तों को भेजो, share करो. If you have any questions or comments, comment करो or सवाल पूछो, and I'll get back to you. And until next time.